Hello everyone, this is Professor Hill. This is a short video for our class Introduction to Ethics, Philosophy 2306 here at St. Philip's College. This is the online version of the class for the fall 2018 semester. So today is Wednesday the 24th of October, and we're in the week where we're halfway through. We had midterms reported on Monday. Did a short video yesterday about our new chapter, Chapter 7, just kind of introduces it to us. And we're reading Chapter 7 in our book, Doing Ethics by Louis Vaughan. And we're looking at talking about virtue ethics. And yesterday I started with a definition of virtue as a stable disposition to act and feel in accordance with a model of excellence, which is Louis Vaughan's definition. It's not bad. But we're also going to be talking about and looking at a case study that we're going to apply some of the concepts to, specifically the one about Seaman Calvin Graham. Now, this is the case study. I put up some links. There's a short video. And one of the students even wrote to say that the whole movie, they made a movie about this guy, is available online free at YouTube. It's also available on Netflix, and which was Too Young the Hero is the name of the movie. But it turns out that this is based upon a true story about Calvin Graham, who was very young when he joined the military. This is somebody who was who lied to get into the military at the beginning of the Second World War. And his first day he was 12 years, 4 months, and 12 days. That's very, very young. So he goes in at 12. He goes through all the training, everything else. And again, it's wartime. And he's shipped out and he's on a ship. And you can see the whole story on the boy who would become a World War II veteran at 13. Because he sees combat pretty quickly. And it's an interesting and powerful story. Because in this first naval engagement, where they take a lot of fire and they take a lot of hits, he acts, by all accounts, very bravely. And it turns out he ends up helping others. And because of his very virtuous conduct, because of his bravery under fire, he's actually given awards by the Navy for helping other soldiers. He's injured himself. He gets the Purple Heart. He's helping others, again, in a difficult, dangerous situation, under fire, in combat. But, of course, here's the thing. He ends up going to the hospital for his injuries and wounds. And at some point during the course of being treated, it comes out that he really is way too young to be in the military. And once they figure this out, his mom gets involved, and he ends up getting drummed out of the military. In fact, given a, wait for it, dishonorable discharge, stripped of his medals, and, turned out on the street, regardless of his very admirable, honorable, virtuous, brave service while in the Navy in the Second World War. Now, since we've been looking at different moral theories and a foundation for those based in either some kind of cultural values or some type of principles and rules, we've been talking about looking at things through a consequentialist lens or a non-consequentialist lens. This one's an interesting story because I think, first of all, right away, the non-consequentialists are going to say, look, you shouldn't lie. You shouldn't lie to get into the military. You're defrauding the government, putting your own life as a child at risk, which is why we have these rules in the first place. And it's just all wrong. But again, when you're looking at a consequentialist point of view, your view on that might be a little different, especially if, you're one of the sailors he helped rescue under fire during the battle. You might think to yourself, thank God this kid was around. In fact, lots of people would say, no, look, he showed that even though he's an exception, he was obviously ready and prepared and acted heroically under the most difficult of circumstances. So the consequences are good. Does that mean that you can then back up and say, well, maybe we should overlook it, or maybe this does somehow justify his lying to get in? And I got to tell you, one of the most interesting things about this case to me is that when they discover it, and he's still very young, they kick him out, strip the medals. But later, over the course of the career, he gets old enough, he joins the military. Once he gets old enough, this time for real, he comes back and joins the military again and serves again until he's injured and is disabled again, during his service in the line. But so then he gets retired out on medical leave and he works. But the point is, he begins then later in life as an adult to begin to try to rehabilitate his reputation and record. And he asks, and sure enough, they review the situation and they restore some of his medals. They end up restoring his pension, which he had lost because he was dishonorably discharged. And they even grant him honorable discharge service. A record. So they change it to an honorable discharge and restores medals. Again, interestingly enough, except for the Purple Heart, because the other medals for valor, they said, are okay, but not for the Purple Heart, which is interesting given the nature of the medal, which is, he was really injured, and that was the medal for that. Anyway, it turns out it's not till after he then dies that his wife his widow continues to argue for the full restoration, and they do restore even the Purple Heart, this time posthumously because he's already passed away. And I just think it's fascinating that the judgment about this and about whether it was wrong or right, justified or not, was very different when he was a young man, but slowly over time, they're like, no, maybe it's okay. And then after he's dead, they're like, sure, restore everything. Is it the passage of time? Is it a reconsideration? Is it a changing of the moral lens they're using to look at and understand and justify his actions? There's a lot of interesting questions kicking around in this case. But look, get in there and look at the specific questions that I'm asking you, which is, what's your judgment about what he did? It's clearly illegal, but was it moral? If you think so, why? But listen, also beyond that initial question about him joining and lying to get in, think about the consequences, what flowed out of it, both for him, the people around him. Look at different perspectives. And then think to yourself, does that somehow back up and justify what he did? And also think to yourself, is this a case of consequentialism, non-consequentialism? Is it a case of virtue ethics? And if so, what's the definition and the difference there? These are all things that you should begin to think about as you read the chapter and develop into your essay for the discussion we're going to have. Now that's obviously coming up. That is due on the 28th. And we will, and we will finish this video soon. Okay, so get your essays underway. Look, you still got time, but you want to go ahead and read the chapter, think about the case study, and start writing that essay. You want to have 500 words. You want to be on time. You want to comment on at least 2 of your classmates. All right, so you guys know the drill. Take care. Talk to you again soon. Write me. Call me if you've got some questions. I'm happy to answer them. So take care. Talk to you again soon. Bye-bye.